The Tunguska Event in Siberia. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, an explosion of unimaginable force tore through the Siberian wilderness near the Tunguska River. The blast was so powerful that it flattened over 80 million trees across 830 square miles of forest. The shockwave, described by witnesses as an apocalyptic event, traveled thousands of miles, breaking windows and shaking buildings as far as Europe. This cataclysmic event, now known as the Tunguska Event, remains one of the most mysterious and debated natural disasters in modern history. The first reports came from local Evenki hunters, indigenous people living in the vast, untamed forests of Siberia. They described the sky splitting open, followed by a pillar of fire that rose higher than the tallest mountains. Moments later, a wave of searing heat burned their skin and clothes, even at a great distance. The explosion was followed by a deafening series of booms that echoed for miles, and some said they felt the ground heave beneath their feet. These first-hand accounts paint a vivid picture of the sheer magnitude of the event, which scientists later estimated released energy equivalent to 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, approximately 1,000 times the power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Remarkably, the explosion occurred in such a remote region that no human fatalities were confirmed, though it is believed that several nomadic families and their reindeer herds were wiped out near the epicenter. The devastation was so complete that trees were scorched bare and laid flat in a radial pattern, as if an invisible force had pushed them outward from a single point. Yet, curiously, there was no crater. For nearly 2 decades, the remoteness of the Tunguska region and political upheaval in Russia prevented a formal investigation. It wasn't until 1927 that Soviet scientist Leonid Kulik organized an expedition to the site. Kulik had been studying reports of a massive meteorite strike and was determined to find evidence of it. To his astonishment, what he discovered defied explanation. At the epicenter of the blast, the forest was eerily barren, with no impact crater or significant meteorite fragments. The trees in the center were stripped of branches, but remained standing, while those farther out were knocked down, all pointing away from the epicenter. Kulik's findings fueled decades of scientific inquiry. The most widely accepted theory is that a small asteroid or comet entered Earth's atmosphere at an angle and exploded approximately 5 to 10 kilometers above the ground. This airburst released an intense shockwave and heat, explaining the widespread devastation and lack of an impact crater. However, this hypothesis raises further questions. Why were no significant fragments of the asteroid or comet ever found? Could the composition of the celestial object have been so volatile that it disintegrated entirely upon entering the atmosphere? Alternative theories have emerged over the years, some plausible and others bordering on the bizarre. A popular hypothesis suggests that a massive release of methane gas from beneath the Siberian permafrost ignited and caused the explosion. Another theory involves Nikola Tesla, who was conducting experiments with wireless energy transmission at the time. Some speculate that Tesla's technology accidentally unleashed destructive forces on the Tunguska region, though there is no evidence to support this claim. More fantastical ideas include alien involvement, with some suggesting that the explosion was caused by a malfunctioning UFO or a deliberate act by extraterrestrial beings to save Earth from an asteroid collision. These theories, while entertaining, lack scientific credibility, but highlight the enduring fascination with the Tunguska event. Modern research continues to explore the event's causes. Scientists have analyzed tree rings, soil samples, and atmospheric data to reconstruct the conditions leading up to the explosion. Recent computer simulations suggest that the object may have been a small fragment of a comet composed primarily of ice, which would explain the lack of physical debris. Despite these advancements, many aspects of the event remain shrouded in mystery, making it one of the most compelling and enigmatic natural disasters in history. The Tunguska Event serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life on Earth and the unpredictable power of the cosmos. Whether it was a comet, an asteroid, or something far more mysterious, the explosion left an indelible mark on scientific inquiry and human imagination. The Great Airship Mystery of 1896. In the late 19th century, a wave of mysterious sightings swept across the United States, starting in California and spreading rapidly to other states. Known as the Great Airship Mystery, this phenomenon became one of the first documented UFO crazes in American history. Beginning in November 1896, reports of a large cigar-shaped object in the night sky captivated and terrified thousands. What made the airship so compelling was not only its advanced technology, far beyond what was publicly known at the time, but also the accounts of its occupants, who seemed to blur the lines between human inventors and extraterrestrial visitors. The first major sighting occurred in Sacramento, California, on November 17, 1896. Hundreds of people gathered in the streets to witness what they described as a massive flying object illuminated by brilliant searchlights. It moved slowly at first, hovering silently over the city before accelerating and disappearing into the distance. Witnesses claimed the craft was about 150 feet long, with wings or propellers visible on its sides. Some even reported hearing voices or faint music emanating from the airship. Just 2 days later, in Stockton, California, a lawyer named Colonel H.G. Shaw had an extraordinary encounter. He claimed to have seen the airship land in a field while traveling by carriage. According to Shaw, the craft was piloted by 3 humanoid figures, each about 7 feet tall, with large eyes and silvery clothing. The beings attempted to communicate with Shaw in a language he couldn't understand before returning to their ship and taking off. Shaw's account, while fantastical, added a new dimension to the mystery. Were these sightings evidence of human ingenuity or something far more otherworldly? As the sightings continued, reports grew more detailed and diverse. In San Francisco, witnesses described the airship as having enormous rotating wings and a glowing cabin. In rural areas, farmers reported seeing it hover low enough to illuminate their fields. Many claimed to hear mechanical noises, as if gears and engines were powering the craft. Some accounts even suggested that the airship was dropping small objects, possibly tools or ballast, before ascending again. By early 1897, the sightings had spread beyond California. Reports came from Oregon, Nevada, and as far east as Nebraska and Texas. Each new account seemed to add credibility to the phenomenon, as witnesses from vastly different backgrounds described similar details: a cigar-shaped craft, powerful lights, and occasionally humanoid figures aboard. One of the most famous sightings occurred in April 1897 near Aurora, Texas. Residents claimed the airship crashed into a windmill, leaving behind a trail of wreckage. According to local legend, a small humanoid body was recovered from the crash and buried in the town cemetery. While skeptics argue that this story was likely a hoax, it remains one of the most enduring aspects of the Great Airship Mystery. Newspapers played a significant role in spreading the story, with headlines like "Strange Visitors from the Sky" and "The Mystery Airship" capturing public attention. However, the media's involvement also muddied the waters, as some articles were clearly exaggerated or satirical. For instance, one report claimed the airship was powered by an anti-gravity device, while another suggested it was a secret government experiment. Skeptics have proposed several explanations for the airship sightings. Some believe they were inspired by early experimental aircraft, possibly created by inventors who wished to remain anonymous. The late 19th century was a time of rapid technological progress, and the idea of human flight was tantalizingly close to reality. Others argue that the sightings were a case of mass hysteria, fueled by the public's fascination with science fiction and technological innovation. Despite these theories, the Great Airship Mystery remains unresolved. What makes it so compelling is not only the sheer number of witnesses, but also the consistency of their descriptions. Whether the airship was a product of human ingenuity, extraterrestrial visitors, or collective imagination, it left an indelible mark on American history and laid the groundwork for the UFO phenomena that would dominate the 20th century. The Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. In the heart of Appalachia, nestled along the banks of the Ohio River, lies the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A quiet and unassuming community, it became the epicenter of one of the most chilling and enigmatic phenomena in American folklore, the Mothman. Described as a humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and massive wings, the Mothman terrorized the area between November 1966 and December 1967, leaving behind a trail of fear, speculation, and tragedy. The first reported sighting occurred on November 15, 1966, when two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, were driving near the abandoned TNT area, a decaying World War II-era munitions plant surrounded by dense woods and swampy terrain. As their car wound through the dark, desolate roads, they spotted something standing near one of the bunkers. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a tall humanoid figure, nearly 7 feet in height, with wings folded against its back and glowing red eyes that seemed to burn into the night. The creature suddenly unfurled its massive wings and took flight, pursuing their car at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. The couples described hearing a high-pitched screech as the creature soared above their vehicle, seemingly toying with them. Terrified, they raced back to town and reported the encounter to the local sheriff. Despite their panic, they were hesitant to share their story publicly, fearing ridicule. However, their account was soon corroborated by other residents who reported seeing a similar creature in the area. In the days and weeks that followed, sightings of the Mothman surged. A local contractor, Newell Partridge, claimed to have encountered the creature near his home on the outskirts of Point Pleasant. One night, as he sat watching television, the screen suddenly went dark, and his German Shepherd began barking furiously toward the barn. When Partridge stepped outside with a flashlight, he saw two red eyes glowing in the darkness. The next morning, his dog was missing, and he found strange tracks in the yard. The TNT area quickly became synonymous with the Mothman. The labyrinth of abandoned bunkers and overgrown vegetation provided the perfect hiding place for such a creature. Many witnesses reported seeing the Mothman perched on the roofs of the crumbling buildings or gliding silently over the nearby forest. Some described hearing strange humming or mechanical sounds emanating from the area, further deepening the mystery. The phenomenon reached its tragic climax on December 15, 1967. The Silver Bridge, a suspension bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed during the evening rush hour. 46 people lost their lives as cars plunged into the icy waters of the Ohio River. The disaster was later attributed to a structural failure in a single eye-bar chain, but for many in Point Pleasant, the timing was no coincidence. The Mothman had been seen near the bridge in the days leading up to the collapse, and residents believed it was a harbinger of the tragedy. The Mothman legend gained national attention with the publication of John Keel's The Mothman Prophecies in 1975. Keel's book not only chronicled the sightings but also linked them to other unexplained phenomena in the region. According to Keel, Point Pleasant was a hotspot for paranormal activity, including UFO sightings, strange lights in the sky, and visits from enigmatic men in black. Skeptics have offered more conventional explanations for the Mothman phenomenon. Many argue that the Mothman was likely a misidentified bird, such as a barred owl or a sandhill crane. These birds have reflective eyes and large wingspans, which could account for the glowing red eyes and massive size described by witnesses. Others suggest that the sightings were fueled by mass hysteria, with each new report reinforcing the belief in the creature's existence. Despite these rational explanations, the Mothman legend continues to thrive. Point Pleasant has embraced its status as the home of the Mothman, transforming the creature into a cultural icon. The town hosts an annual Mothman festival, attracting thousands of visitors from around the world who come to celebrate the mystery. A 12-foot-tall stainless steel statue of the Mothman, complete with glowing red eyes and outstretched wings, stands proudly in the town center, drawing fans of the paranormal. Whether the Mothman was a real creature, a product of imagination, or a manifestation of something even stranger, its story continues to captivate and terrify. Point Pleasant remains a pilgrimage site for those drawn to the unexplained, and the Mothman's legacy endures as one of the most fascinating mysteries in American folklore.
Thanks for watching. Come back soon for more dreaded whispers. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.